Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As always, let's take a moment and sync up. Feel free to speed through if it's not your jam. Let's take a moment and take a deep breath together. And as we release, intend that any worries, anxieties, fears, or dramas be passed through the sacred smoke, given to God or Goddess to transmute, so that we can pay attention to the messages Spirit has for us today. Slowing down our energies, opening up our field. Today I'm inclined to do two separate readings, but I think the first one we're going to do a little bit more of a traditional style daily dharma, where we're going to go in and get the code cards and just get some oracle. And then the next one, I had an event over the weekend where I did a new spread I'd like to try out with you guys. It talks about the archetypal roles that we play in our life, and then does 3 different piles, one based on the self, second based on any conflicting or challenging issues that may arise or have bearing on the situation. And the third pile, the supportive influences. And then we go over and do just a little bit of cleanup, some oracles, some advice, and see what final messages come in to that reading. Hope you all are staying in your peace during this crazy, chaotic, collective time. Let us trust in the roles and the callings that we're hearing. There we have our cards coming out underneath the deck. We have Shining Lotus, number 26. Willing and able to shine your own light in the world is definitely powerful. It's a way to honor the truth that we're here to build. It honors our sense of beingness and individuation when we honor the emotions, the fluctuations, and the character building that we've had to endure gives us a specific set of values. And when we can actually step into that, it's a powerful moment. And I feel that this is really a reclaiming of accountability in an unprecedented way, where we may have, as members of some type of group or community or collective, we may have given up certain micromanaging aspects of our truth, and there may have been a collective thought where somebody has this job, somebody has that job, and we're just part of the cog in the wheel, and so we can just go about our business. But now there's this need that's arising. At 333 I saw. So the first one out, we have Sweeping Sister Willow on number 31. So that talks quite a bit about forgiveness, readdressing how to stabilize, how to restabilize and recenter ourselves following something that put us, it may have cut us short or felt like it was damaging to us in one way or another, real or perceived, does not matter. The willow is all about resilience and making it through and rebuilding. You can cut a willow down and it will take up that nourishment from the environment and it will prevail. Secondly, we have Empress of the Pearl, another one that's talking about pressure and adversity, and how through pressure and adversity, the pearl is born. And it also talks about how we attain our wisdom through the trials, errors, and experiences that temper us. And so our sword, it's like the process of hardening the metal from some molten state into very concise and precise hardness, I guess, with that tempering process, and then the sword is a different type of a tool than it might be otherwise. Then we have Vishvamata. This one I'm getting quite a lot. I believe that this is well, what it looks like to me is this depiction of Kali has a very distant look on her, in her eyes, and it's as though her vision, her typical relied upon vision, has become somewhat either eclipsed or blocked or obscured or something such as that. But just even in that meditative space where the eyes are not focused on what's in front of us, but our third eye is perceiving from this multidimensional 360-degree vantage point, this pineal perspective. And she's here also shown, it looks as though she's the guardian of these children in some way. They're dangling from her earlobes. And I'm curious what the artist meant to talk about with that. But we'll look in the book in a second. Let's get the intuitive messages out. Moksha of Kali 39. This is definitely talking about the enlightenment process and remaining pure, understanding that all of the darkness of life is just the compost in the fertile additives that go into the soil to create the firmer foundation. It's the tempering process. And so there's some type of enlightenment with this pineal perspective here that we're gaining, perhaps about how adversity has really tempered our resilience, and we're no longer feeling as unequal to the task. We're rising up. Another depiction of the child of enlightenment here, and this one definitely reminds me of the various children who have addressed the UN and things like that. But it's talking about how the inner essence of our divinity, our most pure inner child, the emotionalism, the vulnerability, the urge and the need to protect and sustain and create and preserve legacy, things like this, all comes into this. But also it's talking about not dismissing the innocent, the vulnerable, and the power that they wield and hold. There's something about being underestimated, possibly from a long time in our lives. I'm trying to say, like, from a long time ago, and there's been some type of pattern or cycle that we've been emerging from all along. In number 4, matter, materia medica. It's incredible, the various images in here, but it's talking about how we are really the creators, the sculptors of our reality, and that we are our own best healer and medium. It's talking about slow growth that then is exponential growth. It starts slow and then gains progress. Some type of enlightenment process has been slow to get off the ground, such as overcoming these patterns, and is now we're newly inspired to tackle something or to be who we were intending to be all along. With this shining lotus particularly, it's like coming out with what makes you unique and special. It doesn't matter if others are giving you permission to do that thing or if others are doing it. We're here to really unlock all of what our precise individuated blueprint is here to be as cogs and people that find our niche, sure, but there's only one us for a reason, because we are here on purpose in this time to walk in our purpose and in our sacred truth, so that all voices are going into the primal cauldron, into the recipe that comes forward. And so managing our own character, our insights, and the vibration and the truths that we allow our body and mind and spirit to hold and to build upon are very profound and pronounced here. There's some type of focus on where we're going here. I want to first look at that number 2 card here, that Vishvamata. It says, with her protection, even significant uncertainty does not need to be wrought with despair. True enough, right? There is a pathway that can shift your devastation into a palpable experience of being protected and guided through a difficulty. Trust where you're being led. Grace shall come from this. Talking about breathtaking transformation, which we're also seeing over here with this enlightenment, this grand awakening. And even if we're already awake, there is more to see here. It is all part of the mystery being unveiled. To fulfill our inner purpose and to move beyond unnecessarily restrictive self-imposed limitations, we need her. When we hold back, gripping onto what's familiar, or to that permission, or being identified with a group and don't stand on our own, she lovingly forces our hand. Under her influence, we do not evade what is required of us. We find the inner strength to move directly through what we once denied ourselves the right and opportunity to overcome. So there's another fear threshold that we're talking about here. You're encouraged to develop confidence here and to tackle those difficult undertakings, to not be intimidated by the outcome of potential failure or opposition, to just be diligent and make step-by-step progress, and to trust yourself and your capacity to grow into your heartfelt manifestation with your aspirations intact. 39. I think that one is fairly straightforward, but I think the cards are so gorgeously, did I make that word up, talked about in the book. It's always fun to see what they say. In the Moksha of Kali, it says her passionate desire for your liberation is unflagging. Trust this, that soon you'll see things in a better light. Yeah, with that third eye perspective. And you're going to understand what it was all about. You're going to be liberated from the struggle that you're experiencing. Be true to yourself and your life path, and you'll attract the way forward as obstacles disappear. Do not turn away, for you are destined to overcome all opposition, bringing your sacred path to fruition. So moksha actually means freedom. I was thinking this was a wisdom, but it's still the wisdom that comes how to liberate ourselves from things such as dogma, which is a block and an obstruction to true understanding, enlightenment, comprehension, and coherence. Coherence is about the waveform and how we are actually on the same wavelength with other individuals, and we're going in the same direction. And it's talking about the attainment. Yeah, it refers to the attainment of enlightenment, considered to be the final release from involuntary struggling and suffering. Beautiful. And the distinction between voluntary and involuntary is here talking about the experience of that awareness and getting the empathy necessary to understand others' suffering, even when it's not directly seeming to affect us. That breakthrough moment of fearing us against them, because who are they if not just us? In a different mirror. And number 19, Bahuvanesavari. I know I butchered that, guys. Our cosmic mother, the light bringer of the sun and the moon, the light of renewal and healing, is the divine voice, the sound of creation itself, the sublime note that births a golden era. Hers is the capacity to create a clean slate and a fresh start. She's hope, and she is arising. She protects and preserves that which is worthy of the heart. She shines in a perpetual state of divine beauty and radiance, reigniting our creative fires and attracting to us the most supportive and honoring circumstances. Her presence signifies utmost grace. So when we've fought hard to accomplish something worthwhile and honoring of the soul, she provides the means to protect it so that it may endure. And so we can see how these themes are coming out as that old paradigm is really clinging to the illusion of power. And it's time for us to become aware of what is actually going on here. I'm still drawn more to that number 2 card about that vision. What is the circumstances that you would wish to not be in are actually situations and circumstances that are unlocking and activating our own inner power reserves and our strength. So something about that resilience is like when we have our back literally against the walls, when we're painted into that corner, that is when the inner instincts take over and the fear is no longer an option. And it is then time to awaken the inner beast to make sure that what is worthwhile is protected and preserved. So let's see, what are the code cards coming out telling us about the activations in our energy? What activating energies are we looking at here? Let's get a few out of this deck here. All right, that wants to come out. We'll take those, that. A couple more times through. Yeah, we'll take that one too. Underneath healing, and I'm seeing prosperity here peeking out, as well as journey to wholeness. We'll leave that one out as well. So healing our prosperity, and for me, as much as I want to tell you, oh yeah, we're going to get rich right now, I believe that this prosperity with the healing here is talking about our belief in our power versus our powerlessness, our belief in self-sustaining sovereignty and autonomy versus believing that we are reliant and dependent upon something or someone external to either validate or protect or provide. This journey back to wholeness is understanding how the illusion of scarcity, poverty, or not enough love, not enough support, not enough whatever it may be appearing at this moment. We're being told that when we can finally understand our wholeness and our autonomy in that powerful way and understand our ability to push back just by standing up. You can see these depictions in old comics where they have like these power hungry elites on top of this chessboard having a good old time with bombs and wars and laws and whatnot. And then all the people are actually crouched down holding up the chessboard. And they're crouched down, but if they stood up, the whole thing becomes tippy. And that's the tipping point that we're at right now in so many ways. So yeah, what do we have here? We have 34, passion. What is calling forward your urge, your will, your essence? That spark of your passion and desire is the spark that is actually your animating life force energy, and whatever invokes it and calls it forward, whether that's for anger or for excitement or something else, it's valid and worth looking at because it's going to help us all get back to our own individuated wholeness. Nature and nurture. Mother Earth is very strong right now. I love this one, and I feel like this is a very prominent front and center energy in the way that we are taking care of nature and our own inner nature, our own inner wilderness, and our ability and autonomy, our ability to go out and be in the natural world and to preserve the natural world versus whatever else. It's there's a need to shift our perspectives here. We've got passion is 34, perception is 35. So it's like that pineal perspective of shifting into trusting our own inner voice, however humble and however small and wavering it might feel inside, to speak up and to say something. It's time for all of us to band together in small ways that become large. This huge movement is already moving. Full spectrum. Again, I see this as very much an empowerment, standing in one's full power and then feeling the higher self even reaching further and raising the chin in that dignified posture of no, this is a hard no, setting that limit. And then we have divine masculine coming in with all of this feminine energy. I believe that we're really being told that it's all in what we choose to do with it. We do have some semblance of free will here to invoke change, and what we choose to do with our voice and with our sacred life force energy, whether that's to compromise and acquiesce to powerful forces, or whether that's to stand in our own fullness and to bring along others, and to not be afraid to offend or step on toes if it's sacred and worthy of acknowledgement. Ether, the seamless, unspeakable. This is very creation-esque with the power of the voice and the pineal perspective to give our awareness in a specific way. Your awareness is your own specific energy. And it's almost that thought of when those of us that are channeling, we get into the realms, it's like it isn't given to us. The words aren't given to us. There is really no language to ether. Ether is the pre-spoken word. It's more than just a vibration. It is essence, and we can feel it before we can sense it. And it is us that gives the microphone and the PA system to then broadcast how that message and how that vibration is resonating and made coherent within our own structural capacities, our own crystalline or carbonate framework, our own matrix is made alive by the ether. And we are the ones that are steering and sculpting the divine masculine's hands, our hands. What do we do when we are idle? Do we continue to create for the devil, or do we come forward and say, you know, I don't even believe in that devil. He is nothing but an illusion, and I am going to be the I am. I am going to empower the seamless, unspeakable by giving voice to how it hits me. It's like every tuning fork, you know, being strummed and struck so that it can emanate some type of healing frequency. Crown chakra. Yeah, it's our own empowerment, our own magic, our own mojo, our own medicine, earth medicine. I wanted to say this too with this earth, nature, nurture. I had a powerful healing yesterday with somebody, and I didn't know the story, but I knew the name when she this entity. I'm not somebody who's normally thought that I could see things. I sense it in my head, and the picture is given to me. So it's in my third eye. And so I don't see that as clairvoyance. However, I was seeing in my third eye in real time this powerful woman stepping into this healing with me and speaking straight into the aura of the woman I was doing this healing with. And I tried to translate it a bit for her, and it was just like, remember all of the sweat lodge, all of the teachings that have come through us. Remember, remember, remember. And it was like, you are powerful. Do not doubt yourself, and all of this. And it was white buffalo calf woman. So you have to check that story out if you're inclined. She was a very powerful starborn starseed elemental. She was this supernatural energy being that came forward with prophecy about there will come a time where the roads will diverge, and whether we continue and maintain balance or not is actually literally part of this choice point. And if we can come together as a people, then this is going to unite the tribes. And if we fail and deteriorate and slide back into ego and destruction and imbalance and infighting, then the balance point is going to be past and unredeemable. And so we can really look at things like the Atlantean stories and legends and talk about, do we self-destruct at this time, or do we stand in our full power? So I'm being guided to mention also these earthly elementals. Sometimes people will say there's 5 elementals: the earth, air, water, fire. Sometimes we can talk about metal. We can talk about the ether as the other elemental. But here we're talking about starseed elemental. And some of us here that are activating specific latent DNA are being told that we have resources that we have not fully tapped. It's as though this awakening is trying to help us to remember the great Akashic heritage that we all came here with, these seeds within us, latent and ready to emerge. And that we have some type of resource that's intended to be awakened and put into the mix to help us during these times of scarcity and poverty with the light from beyond this time. So let's finish this one up. We are nearing the end. And like I said, check back for the archetypal reading if you're interested in looking at the potential of where you might be in this. It says to start where you are on the front. You are loved on the back. Something about the need to clarify something is self-serving and justifying. So convince yourself, not others. Right. Don't look for validation or permission, because nobody here is able to see your unique truth the way that you can. And so all it is up to you to do is to hone the voice, to understand what that seamless unspeakable is hitting and pinging and resonating and integrating within your own prismatic structures, so that you can understand how to just be in your beingness and to project and promote and sculpt from that place. You have more options than you realize. So it talks about the anger and the infighting too on the back here. It sure is hard to get really angry at someone when you can think of all the reasons you love them, and you can, the universe. I've got people that don't believe the way I believe, and right now there's a huge collective push to demonize those that do not hold our values. But if we are here to uphold diversity, it's completely, what do you call that, antithetical? It's against the theories that we're here to promote. And so we need to come out of our own, get out of our own way in this way. You might not know now, but you will. think of somebody very special to you and imagine yourself bursting with love for that person. And here, imagine yourself mentally showering, drenching, and soaking yourself in that beautiful energy. And now mentally shower, drench, and soak them in that love and you. I always change that one because they wrote it to just give it up to someone else, but you need to fill your own vessel first. There's a deeper reason for each of your questions or your urge to convince or gain buy-in here. Seek the need and the root cause of the questions. Guidance, attention, help, maybe. Love, always. Criticism, never. The question was what to give others, if anything at all. Isn't it fun being you? The universe. Absolutely. So it's not for us to set others straight. It's to discern what the messages are arising in ourselves and to just share that forward. And yeah, I think that that's a huge choice point in our own inner landscape. That is the hidden ingredient, the secret ingredient to the way forward. Sun Tzu said, regard your soldiers as your children and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Though we have heard of stupid haste in war, cleverness has never been associated with long delays. So if you know what you know, don't be impetuous, but also don't wait for something else. Don't wait for the permission or the validation to be yourself and to say what you need to say, to forgive someone in advance because you might not get the chance later. So 40 here says, return is the movement of the Tao. Yielding is the way of the Tao. All things are born of being. Being is born of non-being. So everything that we're creating at this time has to do with that seamless, unspeakable. It's not about the words, it's about the vibe. And so how do we correct and purify that inner light? By looking at the shadows, by expressing, by shedding light on the inner corners and taking care of our own inner business. Single-mindedness, there's a need to focus. Choose your own path and what's best suited to you. And 40, I love that. We just had that 40. Rediscover your zeal. Again, we started with that shine of the inner lotus. You have great wisdom within you that's ready to be imparted. Don't underestimate yourself or play small thinking that you're vulnerable or sensitive or your inner child. There's something unique that you're bringing to this moment and you're called to bring it forward, and trust that. Pay attention to the passion that you're feeling for this discovery, for learning, exploration, spirituality, travel, or your work or your relationship. Passion and desire go together, especially as inspiration. Exactly. So that rediscovering your zeal is figuring out what that passion is, how it's coming through your system and what it's activating. So take good care of yourselves. Thank you so much for joining today, and hit some of those buttons for us if you can. We appreciate you so very much. Check back for more in just a moment. Thanks, guys.